Yeah,
I know.
half an hour.
But it don't seem like a half an hour. That's what I was going to tell you. It was like, yo, we just all of a sudden. But the thing about that, I'm just going to say this thing about Tyson Fury just real quick. The Tyson Fury glove thing is a real thing, right? Like the dude that fought, the dude that had the cement on his gloves on his wraps. That's a real thing too. When the trainer was like,
Right.
not that's just something that we keep his hands from sweating. No,
Now
that's cement.
that's cement. What's his name again? Welterweight,
Yeah.
Mexican.
I forget his name.
Jeez,
Um,
not a good fighter, but he could take a punch.
yeah, and clearly he was knocking people out with cement wraps.
He knocked out Cotto.
Yeah,
He
with cement
almost
wraps.
that he could have really hurt Cotto,
Right.
and he
Right.
did. Like in the
Right.
fight, he did, but he could have
And
really,
Cotto was
really.
never the same after that.
I mean, Cotto came back and beat him, in the rematch,
Right.
this decisively. I can't remember his name. First of all, Freezy, we here. Good morning. Salute.
Yeah.
Good morning,
Salute,
Nick
salute,
Nation.
salute,
Nick
salute,
Nation, we
salute,
are in
salute.
a conversation. We've been talking behind the scenes for approximately the last like almost 40 minutes.
Right.
Me and Freezy about boxing. And
Right,
I
right, right.
thought we were on, but we weren't. But good morning to everybody.
Good
But
morning, everybody.
uh yeah, I can't remember his name. I can see his face, but I can't remember his name. He Cotto was, you're right. Cotto was never the same, but Cotto did beat him in the return.
Right.
Cotto did beat him in return, and then he then subsequently loses to Mayweather, and he lost to Pacquiao as well.
And did he fight Sugar Shane?
Cotto, I want to say yes. I want to say I believe he beat Sugar Shane.
Okay. 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 So just real quick, I want to throw this thing out here. I think Tyson Fury is the most fraudulent champ that the sport has ever seen. And and
No,
and I'm not gonna and I'm talking about from the heavyweight division. Yes, yes,
no.
yes. I think when you go back and look at how he was jabbing Deontay Wilder, when they blow up the thing, Tyson's Fury glove is halfway off his hand when he's jabbing, and I think there's something to that. And I think the sport need to investigate that. I think there's too much of this. There's too much cheating in boxing. You remember
Yeah.
Aaron Pryor? You remember Aaron Pryor?
Of course I do. What kind of
You
question is
remember the mystery bottle?
Yeah.
Not that bottle keeps out.
And the mystery bottle. Now, you see, here's the thing, Freezy. And that was a great fight between him and Alexis Arguello, the late great Alexis Arguello, and the late great Aaron the Hawk Pryor.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Panama Lewis was suspended after that for another incident with taking out padding out of a guy's gloves. Right? So you can say that Panama Lewis was shady, so forth and so forth. Aaron Pryor didn't need anything that night.
Nope.
He didn't need anything that night. And if you saw part 2 to that, it was worse.
Yeah.
It was worse.
Yeah.
Like he beat the hell out of Alexis Arguello for 10 rounds. Like Aaron the Hawk Pryor.
You saw Alexis Arguello game plan. His game plan was immaculate. But what they didn't take into account is that Aaron Pryor's heart was crazy. Because Alexis Arguello was hitting him on the button and it wouldn't phase this dude.
Well,
he outlasted Arguello. Like
it wouldn't phase him, but here's the thing. Pryor is naturally faster than him.
Right.
You see, Alexis Arguello is kind of like Tito Trinidad.
Yeah.
In the sense of he's got to set up. 1, 2, jab, set up. 1, 2, jab, set up. Aaron Pryor was, off the wrong foot, the right foot.
Right. But that
backhand.
boxing style is called orthodox. Like people call orthodox just a right hand style fighter. Nah, a right hand style fighter can punch at different angles, kind of like Mayweather can, right? Kind of like Roy can. Roy is right handed, right? But he's not an orthodox fighter. Like you're not gonna set up a training manual based off of how Roy Jones Jr. throws punches.
No way.
No ways. He's not
No
an
way.
orthodox fighter.
No way.
Right?
He's an athlete that goes by his natural body rhythms.
Right.
His jab, like Roy Jones's jab, horrible.
I saw him throw a jab off of his front foot.
Horrible. His jab is kind of like he uses his jab more like a rangefinder, like a tempo type of thing.
Yeah.
His jab, if you were fighting Roy Jones, you're not concerned with his jab.
No.
Because he's just more like putting it out there, and he would open his stance. He would open his stance in order to be even faster.
Right.
All right, because he's not concerned with the jab. He's concerned with combinations. Like, how am I gonna get off? Left hook, right counter.
And how I'm gonna get this right hand on your chin.
That's it.
From any angle. From any angle.
And when you're young, you can get away with that.
Yeah.
Because you can't teach. You can't teach what he can do athletically.
Right. I'm gonna just say this just real quick before we do the deep dive into the Knicks talk. So there are southpaws.
I almost threw up in my mouth a while ago, but go ahead.
I'm sorry, bro. I'm in that state too. I wanted because I understand what you were saying about the So we do have a topic that we want to talk about, but I want to throw this out there just real quick. The Tyson Fury thing, I think history is not going to be kind to Tyson Fury, right? Because when I look back at it, and honestly, I don't think history is going to reflect kindly on Fury, on Wilder, on Joshua.
I was just about to say, if it's not going to be kind to him, what is it going to do to Joshua and Wilder? Wilder is the worst. Wilder is the worst craft fighter I've ever seen.
Wait a minute! Don't disrespect us by saying this dude crafty at all.
He's not crafty at all.
Right? There are
nothing to his craft. His last name fits. His last name is totally how he fights.
His name should be Wildest. Deontay Wildest.
Or Wilding.
Yeah. Now, does he have dynamite in his right hand? Yes. Does he have dynamite in his left hand? You don't know because you never see it.
Doesn't know how to throw
it. If he had a left hook to throw with the right hand, bro, now you talking. And so just real quick, everybody, for those that I'm just say this real quick. I think Tyson is one of the greatest champs ever. And the reason why I say that is because people think Mike Tyson's greatest asset is power. But I will tell you this, Mike Tyson's top 3 greatest assets. And that is his top 3 greatest assets was speed, quickness, defense, power. Because George Foreman had power. Ernie Shavers had power. But if you combine Sugar Ray Leonard quickness with Ernie Shavers type power, now you got Mike Tyson. Now, I'm not saying that he's just as fast as Sugar Ray, but I'm just saying if you can imagine how fast this dude's hands were. The thing about like Call of Truth Williams was like the power never got you. It's just the fact that you could never see it coming.
Call of Truth Williams. Yo, he should
Brooklyn Zone.
Carl Williams should have played basketball or football, yo. It's one of those guys like, dude, you were never a boxer, my guy. And I watched that fight recently. I've been into some old fights recently, and I watched that. And when Tyson knocks him out in the first round, he gets up and he's like, I can't believe the ref stopped the fight. Da 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 da. I'm like, dude, you were, as the Whisperer said in the song Olivia, you were lost and turned out.
Yes. And some of these dudes, bro, I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like Mike Tyson dominated Terrell Biggs, right? I sparred with Terrell Biggs. This must have been years ago. I was like 20. I was in my prime. I was the biggest I had ever been. So I was feeling myself. So Terrell Biggs, he's bragging, man, I'm 243. You know what I'm saying? I'm the people's champ. All this stuff, right? 243, the people's champ, right? And so I was the biggest that I had ever been, and I was feeling myself, right? I could flex my chest muscles in the mirror. I was a heavyweight. AD, guess how much I weighed? 198.
I was gonna say 200.
198, bro. I couldn't get to 200. My metabolism at that time was so fast I couldn't get to 200. I legit like weigh in. You know how on weigh in, so you have to weigh in the Friday night before you fight on Saturday, right? So on weigh in, everybody is just like, just step on a scale. They ain't even take their clothes off because for super heavy, you just had to be 200. So these dudes just walk on a scale and just get off. Because as long as the dude see the 2, he like, you straight. With me, you know what I'm saying? I had to be 200. So I would step on the scale and it would say 198.7. And you're like, you can't fight tomorrow. I'm like, okay, wait. And then my coach would give me a gallon of water and I would drink the gallon of water. And I step on the scale and the scale would say 199.4. He'd be like, wait a minute, what's going on? So he would make me eat lemon. I mean, not eat lemons, but eat salt and drink water. And then I get on the scale. I lick salt tablets and drink a gallon of water and get on the scale. And the scale would say 199.9, 200.0, 200.1. And as soon as it say 200.1, I jump up the scale. He'd be like, you good. And then I would go into the fight. I would pee all of that off and come in the fight at 198. Right? At weigh-in. But I'm going to say this. I'm going to just say this, though, just real quick. Man, I sparred with Terrell Biggs because I was talking trash to him because this is right after he had lost to Mike Tyson. And I kept calling this dude chump. You the people's chump. And that thing had him so mad. AD, this dude, he jabbed me and almost knocked my shoulder out of place. Right? When dudes say they go to training camp, bro, these dudes legit go to training camp.
Yeah.
Bro, that dude was so big and strong, but Mike Tyson folded him up like a napkin.
Folded him up because he was one. He was a recovering addict. Yep. And you're not gonna be once you start that nose candy, especially. Yep. You don't even realize it. You better get your fights. You better get your fights in quick. Yep. Because you're going to deteriorate really quickly. You're never going to be the same again.
Your biorhythms are off.
Your biorhythms are totally off. And no matter how he thought he was training, his was one of the things. And because I know Terrell Biggs, not know him personally, but his career since the amateur days, because he was one of the highest decorated heavyweights for the American team that had been for like a 20-year period. The Cubans with Teofilo Stevenson had eviscerated the American heavyweight boxers
until 1984. Until 84, yep.
Well, 84, the Cubans didn't participate.
Right.
They didn't participate. So the American boxing team, which is, they were great in their own right. The Cubans didn't participate.
Because we didn't participate in 80.
Right. The Cubans didn't participate. And for certain, Biggs, who wins the super heavyweight gold, he wouldn't have won gold if Teofilo would have been there.
Right.
Because the first time they fought, Teofilo broke his ribs. Punctured, I think, his liver in the first round. By the third round, he was up. They stopped it, I think, somewhere in the second. The second time they fought, he had a much better account of himself. He probably should have won that fight.
Right.
The third time they fought, Teofilo beat him up again.
These dudes were doping, though. I don't count nothing from them. These dudes were doping. All the communist athletes were doping, and it was like not even a moderate dope.
Now, hold on, Freezy. Hold on. Here's the thing. The East Germans, they're women from the Mexico games and up, maybe even before that, they were caught. Several of the wrestlers and stuff like they were caught. The Cubans had never been caught, never been tested. To this day, their athletes had never been tested, and I can't put that on the late great Teofilo Stevenson. Teofilo Stevenson, they literally were going to let him leave and fight Muhammad Ali. Ali had visited their country and then, with President Fidel and everything. And he opted to stay loyal to what they were doing there and forego a career of, I saw this man speak about that, in his native tongue at length. You know what I mean? So I can't put that on Teofilo Stevenson.
Okay.
But with Biggs was all, especially with the drugs, his body, especially, for a person like Tyson at that point in time, that would go to your body. It was only a matter of time that he would get knocked out. And the Duvas, because his trainer was Georgie Benton, the Duvas, they threw him in with Tyson because they knew this was the only chance he was going to get a big check.
A big payday, right.
A big payday. They knew he had no chance to beat Mike Tyson.
No chance.
Zero.
Right.
His best account for himself, besides winning the gold, on a Saturday afternoon, he broke his collarbone against a dude named Billy Sims.
I remember that.
Right? He broke his right collarbone. And in first round, Billy Sims clapped his collarbone and he fought 12 rounds, one hand. And he beat Billy Sims in a decision with one hand. I never forgot that.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna just speak to this real quick before we talk about the Knicks front office. Boxing is for AD. I'm gonna tell you this from experience, bro. The higher level you get in boxing, the more in-depth people cheat at boxing, bro.
Yes,
I'm saying this from like an experience, right? The higher level you get in boxing, the more, like for instance, you don't in boxing. What you don't do, you don't take the football steroid or nothing like that to bulk up in boxing. If you're a big guy, you don't want to get bigger. What you want to do is take the steroid that shreds you up and gives you stamina. You know what I'm saying? Like you've never seen a Bob Sapp win in professional boxing, like a dude that big and muscular just come out and King Kong style, try to beat people up.
But a lot of the times they weren't testing, like that because, and I don't want to cast no accusations on nobody.
Right.
Look at Evander Holyfield over his career.
Right.
Evander Holyfield won gold as a light heavyweight
in '84. Yep.
In '84, right? I think he eventually bulks up to like 220, somewhere between 216, 220, something like that.
Right.
If you watch him, and no one ever said anything because he's Evander. He's a warrior. He's, whatever. But I remember when he fought Tyson, those 2 times, and for people, who will go to, Evander could have always beat Mike Tyson or whatever. No, he wouldn't have.
No, he couldn't have.
No, he wouldn't have.
No.
Not early Mike Tyson. No, he wouldn't have. Not early Evander. No, he wouldn't have. Early Evander was made for early Mike Tyson.
A straight ahead fighter that wanted to trade. Mike got him
made for him.
Yep.
Made for him. I saw that man take shots from
Michael Dokes.
From not even as a heavyweight. Not even as a heavyweight. Larry Holmes, not even as a heavyweight. Yep. When he fought in a great fight, Dwight Kwawi.
Yeah.
In his hometown.
Another name lost to history. Another name lost to history.
I met him once.
Really? Was he a good guy, bro? He looked like a good guy, man.
Yeah, I met him as a kid, coming back from Jamaica in the airport.
Okay.
And I saw him, and back then, boxing was like my thing.
Yeah.
And he had just lost to Spinks, to Michael Spinks.
Right.
And I went up to him and I was like, because, he had changed his name from Dwight Braxton.
Right.
And people were still calling him, Dwight Braxton,
right.
Mr. Braxton. And I went up to him and I said, excuse me, Mr. Kwawi. And he was like, hey, and I said, I was talking about the fight. And I was like, I thought you won that fight against Spinks, which is a lie. I didn't think he won. I didn't think he won the fight. But he shook my hand and he was like, he was going through his motions and he had on, I remember he had on a straw hat. Right. He had a straw hat getting his luggage and so forth. And it's like, yeah, the rematch is going to be in da-da-da-da, but they never got their rematch. But that fight with him against Holyfield was, if you ever want to see just a great fight, in his hometown, I think the temperature was like 105 or some ridiculous.
Right.
Some ridiculous. See, but boxers, it's not like other, team sports where you pretty much outside of football where you control the elements and things of that nature. In the summertime, when boxing is outside in the summertime, they're not calling it off because it's 105. Like all those great fights we saw in Vegas, the temperatures in them June, July, August nights, September nights.
Right.
And you got to go out and fight a man.
Right.
And throw upwards to 100 punches per round.
Yep.
Boxers are the one athlete I've always said that you should never begrudge a boxer for what he has.
Right.
Like it should be criminal for you to steal their money as an entourage, because a boxer is also the original entourage starts with the boxer.
With boxing, right? Yo, I ain't even gonna lie to you. I was in a Golden Gloves qualifier, right? Mm-hmm. And a dude hit me so hard in my ear that my face guard turned on my head like say these are ear holes, right? My face guard turned like this, AD. like legit. The ear hole was right here, and I couldn't see, and I couldn't hear because I was dazed. And so I was in the middle of the ring, just standing there, dazed, with like the little birds flying around my head, or whatever,
So that means
with my hands out of my side.
so that means your chin strap. That means your chin strap went that way too.
No, my chin strap came off.
Oh boy,
It came off. You talking about the black rubber thing that keep you? Yeah, no, that came off. That flew off. Right? And the ref was like pushing me, protect yourself, protect yourself. And I was looking like, what'd you say? Like I was trying to with my head, yeah. And the dude that hit me, he hit me and fell off balance. So he was on the other side of the ring. And I turned when I got my head sticking right. I was like, what's he doing way over there? Right? And this is me trying to put the pieces together, right? Me trying to put the pieces together. And I could feel a rumbling under my foot. I'm looking at the ring is vibrating under my feet. And so I look at my corner to see why the ring was vibrating. I thought it was like having an earthquake or something. I look at my corner, everybody is like, but I can't hear them. So I'm standing there. I'm like, why are they telling me to run? And then it dawned on me, I'm dazed. I'm like, oh! So then I snap back too, right? And the first thing I do is I duck and cover. And this dude misses me by like this much with a haymaker. I could feel it off the top of my headgear. I could just see trying to get me out of there. I'm just like ducking, moving my head, and I could just feel the wind going in my ear holes, right? And so the dude, the bell rang, and they run in the ring and get me and walk me to the corner and put me on a stool. And my coach is like, "Kid, you all right?" I'm like, what happened? And so he was like, yo, he caught you. And I was like, yo, and no lie, hand to the man. What happened was the dude was slower, but at 197 or whatever I was fighting at, I didn't have no power. That's right. So every time I saw his shoulder go back, right? Every time I saw his shoulder go back, I would just get in and then bumblebee him, like, and then back up. But he was setting me up, right? He would just let me come in and sting him and setting me up. And I'm thinking I had more time, so I tried to sting him 5 times instead of 4, and he caught me, bam! And next thing you know, I'm like, and I'm looking at the ground like, why is the ring shaking? You know what I'm saying? And I look at my corner, everybody like, and imagine you got 4 dudes in your corner like, run, run, run. And no lie, the coach had a towel in his hand. Like, why the coach got a towel in his hand? What's going on? And then the dude tried to get me out of there, and we go back to the corner. And my coach looked me in my eyes. He was like, "You going back out there?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going back out there." And they like, and then AD, I got the VHS right. When I look back at it, I was lighting this dude up. I outpointed that joker, bro. I outclassed him. But I was a fighter.
We gotta fight on.
Huh?
Yeah, where you could put the fight on a watch along.
No, hell no.
What?
Y'all ain't gonna be laughing at me, man. Y'all ain't gonna be laughing. Nah, man. Nah, man. It's I was a fighter with 11 amateur fights, and he was a fighter with 400 amateur fights.
Look, 99.9% of the world doesn't have someone that has 1 amateur fight, let alone 11.
At that time, I had 11. I finished my career with like 30.
It's a lot of fights.
Like yeah, so I turned pro, and so I did military service, and then I turned pro, but not as a high-profile pro. It's just like a prize fighter. You know how you get your license from the state,
right?
You got to get, you know what I'm saying, get commissioned by all these. You know how it
is. You're getting paid to get punched in the face.
But I was getting money to pay my light though. I had babies.
Yeah. See,
So,
that's why I say when you see a fighter rise to the pinnacle, and as we talk,
hey, your audio going here now,
the late Rocky Lockridge,
man. Right.
in the end of his life, after being two-time world champion, ended up homeless.
Yeah.
On the street somewhere, how they found Florida, and on a YouTube video, right? Some guy, it's like three of them standing there, and by this time, Rocky's like 65, close to
Right.
with him, and he doesn't know, even though you see him, homeless, that he's a former two-time world featherweight champion.
Right.
Rocky or something, and all of a sudden, Freezy, it's like it was 40 years ago, and the straight right cross. Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, my man never see it coming.
What, 5'6" was like 5'6", 5'7", maybe.
Right.
This dude was.
Hey, hold on real quick. Let me. I think we have an audio issue. Hold on.
Okay. All right, everyone. I'm gonna hold it down until Freezy gets back in.
There we go.
Until. All right. Lays him out. Is it better?
No, I think. Hey, can you come out and jump back in, because we having like an audio issue.
Okay.
Yeah, y'all. I want to talk. So we're gonna get into the Knicks front office thing, but we had been having a conversation about boxing, and so we want to get back into the Knicks front office thing, but
okay,
man, there we go. You sound excellent.
You sound
right
like
now.
ourselves. You sound like we're ready.
Yeah. So
let me know if you need a little Barry White. Let me know if you need a little show.
Yeah, man. So let me. I wanted to toss this out there your way to get a feeling of what you think. So Knicks, new school Knicks asked me. New school Knicks asked me for my controversial take, right? And so I told them that my controversial take is that the Knicks may have a front office civil war, right? I think the front office civil war may be Tibbs and Gerson Rosas versus Leon Rose and Worldwide West. And how and why this would occur is because I looked at the beginning of the schedule where the Knicks could start their schedule 5-15. And if the Knicks start 5-15 in those first 20 games, I think Dolan has no other choice but to make a move somewhere. And the obvious place would be the coach. But I think Tibbs can go to Dolan and say, hey, how did this front office upgrade the roster? Where did they make a significant upgrade since I've been here? Where is it? You've heard rumors and things of that sort, but you don't see a significant upgrade. And where they upgraded the best at, they brought in 3 guys that all played the same position. They brought back Elfrid Payton. They brought in Derrick Rose. They brought in Kemba Walker. They brought in Jalen Brunson. Who's to say that this thing is even going to work out with Jalen Brunson?
So what are you asking me? You're asking me for my controversial take, or you're giving us your controversial take?
I'm reiterating my controversial take,
Mm-hmm.
And what I think what I'm lending myself to is the point that you made about 3 weeks ago, maybe about 3 weeks ago, about finding a star and bringing them here,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think we talked about the Knicks needing a star, right?
Right.
I think Leon Rose's front office is incapable of bringing a star to New York. What say you?
That's obvious. That's obvious.
That's obvious, right?
You know, and since the edict was laid down by New School Knicks to be controversial, let's go all the way and be controversial.
Let's go all the way.
Let's go all the way and be on because I have no ties to the Knicks, so I don't give a damn if they don't want me in their building. Let's
Right.
be controversial. They are incompetent.
Oh wow. AD, did you just call them incompetent?
They're incompetent.
AD, did you just call them incompetent?
They're impotent.
Oh boy. Okay.
It's like when you finally, you know what I'm saying, you finally get there and you see that sweetie and you get there and whatever and you don't know what to do.
Right.
You are incapable of closing the deal. Why? Because you're impotent.
Them.
Bam. That's just who that's me and Rob was trading, arguments the other day and so forth. And Rob, stated that he wasn't, for Mitchell.
Yeah, Rob worked for he worked for Leon Rose.
Oh yeah, I'm not trying to kill Rob, right? But whatever.
Oh, OG, if you watch it, we know you work for the Knicks.
Yeah, absolutely. And to him and to every other Knick fan, it always gets back to this point. If not him, then who?
Right.
And then we get foolish chatter after that. Because you have no points as to that, because you know what? You're as confused as I am. We were led to believe that you are building these picks to get the superstar, to get the star to begin this process, to add to what you have, right? And then you come away with nothing. And then you start feeding your little media outlets the connections that you have to paint a story of, oh, they were trying to rob us. And we as the Knicks, it's a new day. All you did was come up short yet again.
Hey, AD, can I ask you a question?
Of course, my brother.
When's the last time you saw the Knicks robbed in a trade?
KP.
Okay.
They were robbed in KP. And I think but I think they gave themselves up to be robbed.
Okay.
Because it's not like Dallas came to them. They went to Dallas.
Right.
But from the stories I remember at that time, Dallas wanted Hardaway.
Right.
They were like, hey, what about KP?
Right. Yeah.
And Dallas was like, word? We need something. I mean, we could possibly have our version of a Stockton Malone with, at that time, KP was thought of as the unicorn, and Dallas is like, really?
Yep.
Okay, sure.
Right.
Why not?
Right.
And what did you get back?
Wes Matthews, DeAndre Jordan, Dennis Smith Jr., 2 first-round picks.
Yeah. For your crown jewel.
For your crown jewel.
For your,
Have you had a crown jewel since?
have you had a crown jewel since? Haven't.
Right. And so the reason why I asked when's the last time the Knicks have been robbed in a trade is in order to say new day, you give the assumption that the Knicks are always robbed in trades. Right.
Well, they were over the course of time. Isaiah was someone that sought trades.
All right.
Right? He was someone that sought to do nonsense, and eventually he would get back nonsense.
Okay. The Tracy McGrady acquisition. The Jalen Rose acquisition.
You sign Eddie Curry. I mean, you sign Jerome James, and 2 weeks later you trade for Eddie Curry. You're gonna tell me that Chicago sees you sign Jerome James and picked up the phone and called you and said, "Hey, what about Eddie Curry as well?"
Bro, who needs a roster with 2 300-pound centers on it?
They did.
Oh, geez. Obviously, right?
There's no way another team watching you sign any center, right? Whether it was Jerome James or not, any center, picks up the phone and calls you and says, "Hey, how about adding another center?" The league had already moved away from the Twin Towers play.
You're right.
So that wasn't something someone called him. He called them.
Right.
He thought that would be a good idea. He defended it as recently as like a year or two ago that he would make that Eddie Curry trade all over again.
Right. And you know who the Knicks lost out on in that Eddie Curry trade, right? The draft picks led to the Bulls selecting LaMarcus Aldridge, number 2, and then trading him to Portland. And they also lost out on Joakim Noah at 7. It's crazy.
We haven't had competent management since Grunwald. Right?
Why do you keep bringing up Grunwald, man?
Because Grunwald, to be fair to him, he got the job on the fly.
Right?
Because Grunwald was Isaiah's man.
Right.
Because they were together in Toronto. And I think he played with Isaiah on the Indiana team, if memory serves me correctly.
Okay.
He gets the job on the fly, and he does some decent things.
Right.
They fire him on the eve of the season where they had just coming off of winning 54 games. He was the general manager for that team.
Right.
You fire a man that built a team that won 54 games.
Right.
To bring in someone who had never been in charge of a basketball team.
Okay.
Right? That's their history. And Knicks fans know this. So, to tie back in the point, we're here with today's management who are doing the same incompetence that Isaiah, well, to a lesser point, what Isaiah did. You're not moving the team forward. You got Brunson. Okay. Now what? So to me, they're incompetent. You know what I mean? They haven't shown anything in their going on 4 years now that they've been here. They haven't shown anything that's worth us talking about. You have one playoff appearance where we remember what happened. Okay, Julius Randle posted the worst forward numbers since the beginning of the shot clock era. You gave him all that money, follows up a season where he implodes almost on a nightly basis. You come into the off season, you have a chance to radically change your trajectory. You don't pull the trigger. You want to talk now, it's all about the kids or whatever. Like I reminded, people the other day, you had all of the young pieces in some form in the trade for Donovan. So how do you go back to RJ now and say, well, we love you, but we were about to move you? So I don't know if we're still live or not. I know Freezy went off, so I'm gonna leave and come back in. I don't know if Freezy's having a problem, but who's out there watching and so forth? No, let me know. Am I off with it? Should we throw up our own poll, Freezy? How about that? Yeah, since people are throwing up polls, how about we throw up our own poll?
Okay.
Let's throw up our own poll.
Okay, what's the poll gonna be?
Do you think Knicks management is moving in the right direction?
All right. Do you think Knicks management is moving in the right direction? All right.
Let's throw up our own poll. I can't see how many folks are in the chat or whatever, but let's throw up our own poll. Because, the eye can't see itself. So maybe we're missing something. Although we've beaten these topics to death. We've found as many holes as possible, because every day there's a new leak as to, who was handling negotiations and this, that, and the third. Who cares at this point? Why didn't we know who was handling negotiations before negotiations started?
Right.
Why do we need to know who was handling the negotiations after the shit fails?
Right.
See, this is the okie doke that I need for fans to understand. Okay? All of these things after.
All these things after.
After.
Right.
When things is going on, fans are not, we're not privy to that information. Why? Because we're not supposed to know these things because, right. It's negotiations. But you're willing to leak everything,
right.
When shit goes awry.
Right. And you know what? It's a lack of accountability. It's like, oh, it wasn't my fault it failed. I put him in charge.
Yeah.
Why did you are in charge, putting somebody else in charge, and when it failed,
what sense does that make?
Right.
So you're the head you're Leon, you're the head of the Knicks. This type of a trade, whether it's Donovan or not, you mean to tell me you have someone who you're feeding the information, who you're feeding what you think your ideas are for a trade, for trade parameters, and then they take this information, get on the phone, and speak to Ainge, and speak to Ainge's his counterpart, and the same thing. Who the hell does that?
And who cares?
And who cares?
Yo, but AD, I'm gonna say this. So TC put a good point out there. So my conspiracy theory, like he said, Rosas is a good GM. Just dump contracts like Randall and play the young dudes, right? What I'm gonna say to this, to your point, is if the Knicks get out to say like a 5-15 start in the first 20 games, I think you might see that. I think you might see that Dolan, it might consider promoting Tom Thibodeau and Gerson Rosas to that position and go through a youth movement, build through the draft, right? Because CAA has proven to you that they can't get a star.
I don't think they're bad enough. I don't think they're bad enough to get to a 5-15 in the first 20 games.
Did you see the first 20 games of the schedule?
Yeah, but I don't think they're that bad. I think they're a 500 team.
This thing makes me. Oh hell no.
That's the thing. Yeah. I think with Brunson, you got to be fair to him. With Brunson, at the end of the year, they're like what, 40? I don't know, 39-43, something like that.
You're talking about by the end of the year, but I'm talking about the first 20 games, bro. I promise you, when you see the schedule, you may consider rethinking that, bro. And I'll put it up here on the screen for you to see it, and then that way you can, because there is a gauntlet at the beginning of the season. Let me blow this thing up just for us to look at. Okay, that might be too big. Let me shrink this down a little bit. All right, I'm gonna put it on the screen, and just in fairness to you, I feel like you got to see this to believe it, bro.
Okay.
You know, man, I just want to be fair, right? You see the first 5 games, I think in fairness, you see the first 6 games, I think we can go 3-3, right?
Yeah.
I think we'll lose to Memphis. I think we can beat Detroit. I think we can beat Orlando. I think we can beat Charlotte. I think we lose to Milwaukee and Cleveland.
I think we beat Memphis. Opening night, I think we beat Memphis.
No. Come on. You think a playoff team is going to lose to a lottery team on opening night in their house?
I think the Knicks catch that one. I think the Knicks catch opening night.
Okay, how? What gives you that impression? Do we have somebody to defend Ja?
Well, I think that's a game where, you know, you can catch teams when they're opening in front of their fans, and so, you know, everyone's expecting to play well and and next thing you know, the visiting team is giving you all you want.
Okay.
So I look at that game like the Knicks can catch that one. I think out of the first 6, they're 3-3, but I think the Knicks can catch that one.
Okay, I'm gonna say if they beat Memphis, I say the Knicks start the season 4-0.
Well, I'm not gonna
because Detroit was a lottery team, Orlando is a lottery team, Charlotte, you don't know what they are.
The first 20 games is the marker. You're correct about that, but I think in the first 20 games, I don't know that 9-12 or something like that, or 8-12 or something like that.
All right, so say 9-11, right?
9-11, yeah.
All right, so I did it on the other show. I'm gonna do it on this one. This is where I think the Knicks are gonna be at. I think they lose at Memphis, right? So they're 0-1. I think Detroit, Orlando, and Charlotte are all toss-ups. I'm gonna give the Knicks those 3 games because I love the Knicks. I think the Knicks will be 3-1. Milwaukee at Milwaukee is a loss. Cleveland at Cleveland
is a loss, right?
Mm.
The
Oh my
Atlanta
God.
the Atlanta Hawks in the Garden is a loss. At Philly is a loss. Boston in the Garden is a loss. At Minnesota is a loss. At Brooklyn is a loss. Versus Detroit, that's a dub. I give them 4 wins right there. OKC, I say that's a dub. So the Knicks have 5 wins right there, right? At Utah, I think that's a win, right?
6.
But here's where things get dicey. At Denver, that's a loss. At Golden State, that's a loss. At Phoenix, that's a loss. At OKC, I think that's a dub. I give them 7. At Portland, I think that's a dub. That's 8. How many games is that? Let me see. Let me count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. All right. So the Memphis, I'm going to count it back the other way. Versus Memphis in the Garden, that's a loss. Versus Portland, that's a dub, 1-1. OKC, that's a dub, 2-1. Phoenix, that's a loss, 2-2. Golden State, a loss, 2-3. Denver, 2-4. Utah, 3-4. OKC, 4-4. Detroit, 5-4. Brooklyn, 5-5. Minnesota, 5-6. Boston, 5-7. Philly, 5-8. Atlanta, 5-9. Cleveland 5-10, Milwaukee 5-11, Charlotte 6-11, Orlando 7-11, Detroit 8-11, Memphis 8-12. So I could see that what you're saying, 9-11 or whatever. I could see what you're talking about.
So many, and it depends on, again. Let's be fair. Maybe they gel.
I hope they gel.
Maybe they gel. Let's be fair. Maybe they gel. If Brunson, the one thing that I think we can agree to is that Brunson can play.
Right. Brunson can play, bro. But
Brunson
when
can absolutely play. And if he's able to get the reins, and Julius is able to, to get off the ball, share the ball, play better.
Randall does share the ball, and Randall is a good defender.
You could surprise some people. But it's not like when we discuss Julius, we're not calling Julius a bum. Right. I've called him a bum in times when he pissed me off, things of that nature, because the team last year, you could point to several games where he cost the Knicks. Right. At least five where he cost the Knicks with his individual play.
Well, I would say to you this, and I'm not defending Randall here, right? I'm not defending Randall because I say this often, and I don't think people understand what I mean by it. I don't think an enforcer can be your best player ever. Anytime the enforcer is your best player, you have a losing team.
Yeah.
Right. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. While we blame Randall for a lot of stuff, what we don't talk about is this team at the guard position, at point guard, shot 40.8% from the floor and 34% from three. All of those are below league average, right? Those numbers are terrible, right? And so we blame Randall for holding the ball and shooting contested shots, but we don't blame the rest of the roster, especially the point guard position. AD, listen, this backcourt that we had last year was the worst backcourt we had since we traded away Michael Ray Richardson.
Yeah. It was the worst backcourt we had. Rory Sparrow and Ray Williams.
Darryl Walker. Yeah, Darryl Walker.
Yeah. It was on that level. Terrible backcourt.
Terrible
backcourt. You can't see, and that's the thing where Knick fans seem to lose sight on. And I hate doing this to this dude. You know, when you bring in a Kemba Walker, you know, a man who has the ties, the legacy that he set here in New York basketball. When you bring in that kind of, you know, player who's not himself, your team doctors, when they worked him out for a physical, their team doctors had to tell them. Their team doctors had to tell them, look, this is a topsy-turvy situation right here with his knee. You're not going to be able to play him the way how he used to play because this knee is not. It's not right. It's not right. Their team doctors had to tell them that.
Right. Right.
And yet you still elect to go that direction, and you had to pay to get rid of it.
Right.
Those are some of the things that Knick fans just gloss over.
You remember you said Ray Williams, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me just humor myself, bro. Let me have a moment to enjoy me throwing this thing out there, right? Knicks fans constantly talk about a young core. Uncle Freezy, this is the first time we ever had a young core. Hold on. This is not the first time we ever had a young core. Because at one point we had a young we had a we had a young core of Ray Williams, Michael Ray Richardson, Bill Cartwright, and Mike Woodson. You remember that young core, AD? Remember that young core was supposed to be the future?
Yeah.
You remember the championship team had got old and retired and went their own ways, and we were rebuilding, and we selected Ray Williams.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't even gonna lie to you. I didn't know who he was. Even though he's from New York, I didn't know who he was.
That's Gus Williams' little brother.
Gus Williams, yeah.
Gus Williams' little brother. Yeah, but at least when those guys were drafted, there was a clear role for them to play.
Right.
You didn't have multiple guys, you know, that you have to then weed out. They just weren't good players.
They just weren't good players.
You now have, for Knick fans, riddle me this. How are you going to find minutes for Quickly and Grimes?
Hey, AD, I don't know if you heard this earlier. Also, this is something that we talked about earlier today, right? How good was Quentin Grimes after the All-Star break? Exceptional, right?
Yeah.
How good was Quentin Grimes? Like just off memory, what's your impression on how good Quentin Grimes was after the All-Star break?
I liked him. Knick fans have heard me talk about him. You know, I'm early. I was on him early. I was on Quentin Grimes early, and he played very well in the role and the minutes that he got when he got time to shine. If it wasn't for the injury, he would have looked even better.
Okay.
You know, he played in the role that they gave him. Like I said before, when I saw him in the draft combine, Freezy, everybody that was in the guard, small forward, he was giving them the business.
Yeah. He was a workout warrior.
Yeah, he's a workout warrior. He was giving them the business. There was something, so the Knicks saw something that they could use, and he could play defense, live body.
Okay.
All right. So you draft Quickly the previous year. You come back, you have him. You have all these pieces. that are undefined.
These are his numbers after the All-Star break.
Management needed to make a trade just for that reason.
AD, so your memory is not good, my friend. These are Emmanuel Quickly's numbers. Let me show you. I'm gonna scroll up because I want you to see.
No, we were talking about Grimes, not Quickly.
The Grimes. That's what I'm talking about. Grimes.
Okay.
You see that's his face on the screen, right? That's his face, right? Look at his numbers after the All-Star break, bro.
Uh-huh.
This dude averaged 3.1 points per game. He shot 26.9%.
Yeah, but how many games he played? Yeah, but how many games he played after the All-Star break?
7.
He got hurt.
No, he got hurt. He got hurt.
But he was not hurt in all 7 of these games. He got hurt in a game, not in practice. He got hurt in a game. Right? He got hurt in the April game. In the April game, he played 16 minutes, right? Remember that he dislocated his kneecap in the April game?
Right.
In that game that he got hurt, he was already 1 for 5, right? For 2 points. He played 16 minutes in that game. He was 1 for 5 and had 2 points. After the All-Star break, this brother was 26.9% from the floor.
Freezy. Here's Freezy. You're using a small sample size.
Oh,
right?
No, man.
You're using you are. You're using a small sample size. That's one.
Right.
That's one. And 2, here's the thing. The Knicks loved him so much, they didn't pull the trade.
And AD, I was hoping that you was going to say that because I was hoping that you were going to say that. That is right. You just threw me a fastball on a 3-0 count. Right?
Yeah.
Right. So here's my thing. Here's my thing. If these
now, what you gonna do with the pitch?
If this dude, I got to hit a grand slam. So here's the thing. Here's the thing with that, right? If this front office believes that a dude that averaged 3 points a game after the All-Star break is their crown gem, then what type of front office do we have?
What type of front office do we have?
Right. That's my point. I'm not knocking Grimes for his production. What I'm saying is Grimes is not ready. Grimes is not ready. Right. So here's the thing, because you mentioned like, what are you going to do about Grimes and Quickly? Right. So I'm going to bring up Quickly's numbers for the same time frame. In fairness, you know what I'm saying? Here's Quickly's numbers during the same time frame. Right. Quickly averaged after the All-Star break. Quickly averaged 28 minutes a game. He shot 43.6% from the floor, 38% from 3. He averaged 5.2 rebounds and 4.8 assists, right? And 16 points a game. I'm not bashing Quickly. I'm saying Quickly's not. I mean, I'm sorry, not Grimes. I'm just saying Grimes is not ready. Let's not rush it. Let's not just throw Grimes out there. Let's not do Grimes like we did Frank Ntilikina.
Yeah, but hold on a second, there, Freezy. Frank, what Grimes showed in the first half of the season, Frank never showed. Never. That's one. Okay. 2, it's not about rushing him, right? You're gonna have to if you didn't consummate this trade, right? So what are you gonna do then? Have him fight for 10 to 15 minutes a night? What sense that this is my overall point with this Knicks management and so forth. Yeah, you want guys to earn their minutes and so forth. Yeah, I get that. But you can have a surplus, which is not a good thing. It's like having too much food in your refrigerator that you don't eat. Eventually, it goes bad.
Eventually,
you've then wasted money.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? You can't have all of these pieces and then, it'll work itself out. Okay, while it works itself out, you're also devaluing the pieces that you have.
Okay.
Instead of moving them when they're at a point where you don't have to worry about, an injury or someone going through a sophomore jinx. I heard you talk about that.
Yeah.
Right? Someone going through a sophomore jinx and blah blah blah. Then you have to then prop him back up for the third year.
Right.
That's time.
Right. Right.
Why do you want to play that game?
I don't.
You see what I'm saying? You just gave Sims, the Knicks management just gave Sims a 3-year contract. Okay. Sims is what? A power forward / center / power forward, whatever. Right? You signed him, you signed Harkenstein, you signed Mitchell, you've got Randall, and you've got Obi. How are all these guys playing?
I'm not for sure, AD. What I'm saying is we need to establish like a direction. Like for instance, if the upgrade at the 2 is important. If the upgrade at the 2 is important, right? If the upgrade at the 2 is important, then why not do the upgrade at the 2? Do you upgrade the 2 by playing RJ Barrett there?
I think you put him with this team. I think you put him back at the 2.
And so on the screen, you see RJ. For one, RJ Barrett doesn't pass, and he needs to pass.
I'm not going to say he doesn't pass. That's not a fair assessment. That's not a fair assessment. I think that's not totally okay. That's not totally a fair assessment, right?
Okay.
They don't play a game, a style of play where they're passing the ball. Like the Knicks are like what? I don't even have to look at the stats. Where were they ranked in assists last year? In total team assists, right? Probably at the very, very bottom. So one good passer doesn't make a team a good passer. You see what I'm saying? You have to have your offensive game plan is to that.
Right.
It's to share the ball.
Right. Or play for each other.
Even better. Play for each other. Make the extra pass.
Right.
See what I'm saying? That's where that breaks down to. But I move him back to the shooting guard because that's his natural position.
Okay. And so with RJ Barrett, you see an increase in assists in the second after the All-Star break. He averaged about 4 assists, 3.8. And he averaged 24.5 points a game after the All-Star break.
He had the ball more.
He shot it more.
He had the ball more. He was making more. He was more aggressive.
He took 5 more shots a game after the All-Star break than he did before the All-Star break.
See, I put him at the 2, not only because it's natural position, but in times when he has the ball, Brunson can be off guard. Brunson can play off the ball.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? So
yeah,
you start creating you're creating an interchangeable environment where they're sharing the ball, where you're not, you know what I'm saying, where you're not getting stuck with Julius bringing the ball up the floor,
right,
plotting. The shot clock is going down.
Right.
You know how many times we saw that last year? Too many times.
Yeah.
Way too many times.
That's because of a Tom Thibodeau read and react offense.
Okay.
And so the other thing I want you to look at too on the screen, prior to the All-Star break, RJ Barrett shot 4.6 free throws a game.
Freezy, I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to wrap. My God, Knicks fans.
We gotta get out of here, man. It's almost 1 o'clock.
It's almost 1 o'clock. It's that I can't
Hey,
allow the Knicks to interfere.
I hope all y'all football teams win. AD, as usual, it's been a pleasure. We out of here. Peace, y'all.
Absolutely.